Hey, what's up, everybody? Chicago Goonie here, bringing you another Arsenal talk. In this Arsenal talk, I'll cover just transfer news and not only transfer news. In this episode, hopefully it'll be a short one, not like my last two, but just to get into it, Krystian Bielik. Supposedly the transfer fee is agreed upon between Arsenal, um, and then he's supposed to have a medical that was posted on Twitter and of course in a couple of the English newspapers that he's due to have a medical today, Friday, and then later on becoming, of course, an Arsenal player. There's a couple concerns that I have with this transfer. The money is one, and then two, the potential. I'll cover the potential first. He was already, the headlines were right when kind of like this story kind of broke that he could be signing with Arsenal and there could be a transfer in the works for this like Polish wonder kid, as they're calling him. They're calling him like a Polish wonder kid, and then they're also calling him the next Vieira. He's a big kid. He's 6'2". Still has a lot of room to grow, of course, his body, just because he is young. Just like a Gideon ZLM. He's still, he needs to still add weight. Same with Hector Bellerin. He still needs to add weight to grow into his body and get a little bit stronger, obviously. But he's a tall, lanky kid from Poland, and of course, like I just said, he was deemed the new Vieira, the next Vieira. Of course, being an Arsenal fan, everybody being an Arsenal fan. How many times have we heard this? How many times have we signed a quote-unquote wonder kid from, insert country name, whether it was from England or somewhere else in Europe, and he was always, he's deemed the next Vieira. I honestly I hate when the media does this to a kid. You see it all the time with Messi. They say, he's the Irish Messi or the Brazilian Messi or the Russian Messi. I hate that. I hate when they put a tag on a kid, and putting that much pressure on a kid right from the get-go. I mean, it's unfair. It's unfair to the kid, whether or not he can take that pressure, whether he or not he even listens to the media or reads the articles or anything like that. I think it's unfair to any kid coming up through the ranks, whether it be through academy or through a club level academy, that they're deemed the next insert great player name. I think it's unfair, obviously, but to call this the new Vieira, I mean, we've heard that out of like Arsene Wenger and on the Arsenal brass and the people in the know and the people who call themselves experts time and time again. We've been trying to sign a player and kind of fill that role of a Vieira role since he left the club. And that's been going on for almost like 9, almost 10 years now. That he hasn't been with Arsenal. Obviously, he's retired now. He's with Manchester City. He's a coach with the youth academy there, and we've always been trying to play catch up, where we're trying to still cover those roles. Like even Gilberto Silva, we've still been trying to fill his role all this time. And I just think it's unfair to put this kind of tag on a kid. Whether he can handle the pressure or not, who knows? Is the potential there? I really don't know, because this is the concern I have. If he's this good, if he's deemed the next Vieira, I mean, let's be honest. Whether you're an English Premier League fan, even if you watch the Serie A, Ligue 1, Bundesliga, La Liga, anytime they talk about a central midfielder, a powerful central midfielder, Patrick Vieira's name is always mentioned by the commentators. Always mentioned. Because, well, I mean, in his day, even now, him being a legend, I mean, he was one of the best central midfielders ever. And if he's that good, if this kid is this good, why isn't Bayern Munich going after him? Why isn't Dortmund going after him? Because I mean, let's be honest. Bayern Munich and in that part of the world, Eastern Europe, they really have a they have the know-how. They know when a kid is coming up. They know when to buy a certain kid, time and time again. Um, Obviously Dortmund has several Polish players. Bayern Munich now has Robert Lewandowski. I don't know what they have in their youth system, but you would think they would have the inside track on if this kid is such a wonder kid that they would have the inside track on a kid like this. So it's kind of a cause for concern. Uh, Maybe he's an Arsenal fan. Who knows? Maybe he grew up an Arsenal fan and this is why he's coming to Arsenal. This is where he wanted to come to. Who really knows? Um, is it possible? Sure. He said he's living a dream. This is his dream to come to Arsenal and play for Arsenal. But again, if a team like Dortmund, who is huge on their youth system, who is huge on kind of like how we are. We don't buy world class players, we make world class players. I mean, they have that kind of same model. I mean, that's how much their youth system is just stacked with great players and up and coming players. So that's the concern I have of why didn't the Bayern Munich or Dortmund or even anybody else in the world really try to go after this kid. The second concern I have is the money. Supposedly the transfer fee is 2.4 million pounds. That's a lot for a youth player. That's a lot for a 17-year-old. Um, Given the fact that he's only had limited amount of first team experience, and of course, the Polish league is nothing to really write home about. It's not really, you can really classify it as one of the top leagues in the world. And again, he still has only limited amount of first team experience. Not sure. I would have to look up if he's even in on the national team, and if he's not yet, is he with the unders at least? I would think he was at least with the unders, like the under 20 team at least. But again, the 2.4 million pounds, and this is where the concern comes from, is that we're willing to pay 2.4 million pounds for a 17-year-old kid, but yet the news broke, I believe it was yesterday, that Arsene Wenger is willing to pay 3 million pounds for Winston Reid, but West Ham United want 7 million pounds. And Arsene Wenger is not willing to pay that. He's not willing to pay 7 million pounds for a Premier League ready center half. You can easily put Winston Reid as possibly, top 10, top 15 center halves in the league currently. But yet Arsene Wenger is willing to sign over 2.4 million pounds for a 17-year-old who is unproven, has no experience with Arsenal, who has no experience with the Premier League, has limited amount of time with the first team at his club that he was at. But then we're not willing to pay out 7 million pounds for Winston Reid. Of course, a lot goes into that. Contracts, obviously. What's the asking price for Winston Reid? What is he asking for per year, per week? That might have something to do with it as well. But the fact that we're spending 2.4 million pounds on a 17-year-old, and then we give a talent evaluation to West Ham for only 3 million pounds, and they're only asking for 4 more million pounds for a Premier League proven player. It's a real cause for concern. But the kid has a medical today. Of course, with medicals, I mean, that's basically kind of like, how you feeling? Oh, I feel great, doc. Okay, you passed. I mean, not too many people fail their medicals when it comes to transfers, and when it comes to the amounts of money that is spent to buy a single player. But again, it's just such a cause for concern. Also in the news, Arsene Wenger gave an interview, pre-match type thing for the Manchester City game for Sunday, and he said that Arsenal is in talks with that they want to bring in at least 1 to 2 players. Now here's another concern. Does this Krystian Bielik, does he fit into that 1 or 2 players, or is it like first team players? Is it proven players? Um, you know, does does the Krystian Bielik signing mean one of those things where it's 1 or 2 players? I really hope it doesn't, because I mean the kid's going to sign and he's going to go straight to the the youth academy. Or he's going to go straight to the under 19s. That's where he's going to be playing basically. But 1 or 2 players, obviously. He already mentioned the right back position, that they have, of course, Callum Chambers and now Hector Bellerin, and that Hector Bellerin deserves his shot. He deserves more time. So it almost sounds like we're not going to be going in for a excuse me, that we're not going to be going in for a right back. But we definitely need a center half, and of course a center half is right there in the Premier League for our taking, but we're not willing to spend an extra £4 million for him. I'm sure West Ham would probably come down in price if you really got down to the nitty gritty. But at some point, someone's going to snatch up Winston Reid for £7 million, whether it be Newcastle United, whether it be I heard like Crystal Palace and even like a Hull City, and some of those teams, like some of the bottom half teams, will be willing to pay that type of price. But it seems like Winston Reid wants to go to a more of a better club. Obviously, I mean, Newcastle United is probably the only one that's really in those marquee names. Obviously, that's in the top half of the league, not the bottom half of the league. But it just kind of like boggles my mind. Another name that's been in the news is Gundogan from Dortmund. Supposedly that Arsenal has supposedly, quote unquote, by the media, saying that we've made a £16 million bid for Gundogan from Dortmund. I looked his bio up yesterday, and Dortmund got him for only like £4 million or €4 million, one of the two. Yeah, I think they go by euros. So €4 million when they got him, and the kid is, he has a lot of injury issues. Obviously, of course, he'd be perfect for Arsenal, but he's due to come back with Dortmund, I think, this weekend. He was off with an injury. I know all of last year he was out basically because of his back, and that's kind of tough for a DM who's going to try to go up for headers and try to win the ball in the air. But he's not that tall of a figure. He's not that imposing defensive midfielder. He's more of a central midfielder rather than a DM, but he can play that role, obviously. Obviously, with if you look at Mikel Arteta type player, even a Matthew Flamini, to where they're decent on the ball, they can pass the ball. Their passing accuracy is very high. Same with Gundogan, but Gundogan is more of a in my opinion, he's more of like an Aaron Ramsey. He can play box to box, but at the same time, he's very good in the attack. But I'm sure if he was brought to Arsenal and said, "Look, you're the DM," I'm sure he probably wouldn't have a problem with that. Obviously, have that. He's German. I'm not sure. I asked a question on Twitter yesterday, but I got like no response from it, asking if Pure or Mesut Ozil has any type of relationship with the kid other than being national team members. That's might be the only type of relationship they have with them. So I'm sure that would maybe play a huge part in that, whether he would want to come here or not. But again, it's going to be hard-fetched to think that Dortmund is going to start their fire sale in the January window. I just can't see that happen, just because of where they're at in the table in the Bundesliga, and the chances of them trying to crawl their way back up to Champions League level, which is going to be very difficult for them to do, and even try to get back into at least going to Europa League. I'm sure they're going to try to crawl back up into that part of the table, hopefully for them. But I think it's going to be kind of difficult to grab a guy like that just because of where where Dortmund is. But does Dortmund look at it like a, well, he's so injury prone. Let's just get all the type of money that we can get from him right now, possibly. And like I said, money talks. If they already have Sev Bender as their DM there. Who plays for Gundogan when he was out at the CM position? I can't really answer that question. But are they willing to let that guy go? Are they willing to let a player like that go? Because when Gundogan's injury free, when he's healthy, yeah, he's like one of the better midfielders in the world. I mean, he was going through their Champions League run when Bayern Munich beat them in the final. He was one of the mainstays. He was one of the bright stars of that team that really got them through all the way to the final. And when he's at his best, he's one of the better midfielders, in the world. So are they really going to let him go for that type of money? Do they want to let him go? That's going to be the thing. But I can really see during the summertime that maybe a Gundogan type player like that guy, that he could go, because they might have a fire sale. To be honest with you, because they might not be able to afford their players the way their season is right now. But that's basically all the news I have, and if anything else kind of comes up, if you have any concerns about this transfer, much like I do or whatever, yeah, put them in the comments section. Hopefully we get some type of player, especially a center half. We need that definite cover at the center half position, especially with Debussy out now. Chambers can't be the acting runner-up for either Per or Koscielny, because those guys are going to need a rest. We're in 3 different competitions: Premier League, FA Cup, and Champions League. So we're going to need coverage, because I mean, let's be honest, we should get past Monaco pretty easily. I'm sure it's going to be a tough 2 games either way, but at the same time, it's a team that we should beat and go on to the quarterfinals. And again, that's going to be 2 more games that we're going to be playing in our season. So we're going to need coverage. And again, spending that type of money on a so-called wonder kid and not spending an extra £3 or £4 million on an already proven center half in the Premier League, I just don't get it. It's just one of those mind-boggling things that Arsenal throws at us. But yeah, that's all I got for you. Later.